Good morning and welcome back to the Daily Thread.
It's great to be back. It's great to be back here in the studios of the Daily Thread. It's just great to be back.
Yeah, you missed the good weather?
I know it's here in New York. It's gray cloudy today. I haven't seen that in 8-9 days.
Really?
So, wow, that's what clouds look like. Wow.
Yeah.
Just waiting for a rainbow.
Welcome back.
Yes,
Good to have you.
back.
How was your trip?
Very, after all these years, I haven't figured out how not to come back from vacation exhausted.
Really?
Because, in my lifetime, this whole concept of vacation, as far as I'm concerned, has been transformed because you don't go to work anymore. These days, work follows me wherever I go. So if you want to analyze or look back over the last 8-9 days, you'll see that I did everything I do every single day.
People rarely are able to just disconnect from work completely.
I guess you have to have a certain kind of occupation when you can just
Maybe more of a corporate.
when you're not there. When you don't have, I guess it changes from business to
Yeah,
business.
certainly as a business owner, you're probably never off. Speaking of your business,
Yes.
the newspaper.
Yes. How about what
So
about?
a few emails.
You're getting emails about the newspaper now?
That's
That's like cross pollination.
We're gonna put you on blast.
I don't
right
get
now.
any emails
Let me
about
ask you a
you.
question. On page 5 of last week's issue.
Last week's issue. Okay, I have to see if I can remember that far back.
Should I pull
Last
it out?
week's
or-
issue. No, I pretty much know what you're referring to. But go ahead.
There
ask the
was
question.
a big full page ad.
Yes, there was a lot of full page ads. Thank God.
You're already acting like a politician on this one too.
No, oh, that's how you got through yeshiva and through
those full page
and through
ads?
college and through all your
Yeah.
advanced education.
Thank God for college.
Through those full page ads.
Anyways, a full page ad for Kathy Hochul.
Okay, she's a legitimate candidate for governor.
So the question
New York.
is
I'm not endorsing her. I
I
don't
know.
endorse her.
I know, but the question is if you wanted to refuse that ad, are you allowed to, or it's legally an issue?
I don't think you could refuse an ad like that. It's a legitimate political
What would
ad.
happen?
She's a legitimate political candidate. There certainly are ads that I have refused over the years.
I know you're allowed to refuse ads, but if you were to refuse a political ad,
Like we used to have an ad around Yom Kippur time for a few years. I don't know what happened to those people. There was people that were against cruelty to chickens for kapparas, and I used to run the ad. I just ran the ad. What damage could be done? People have a right to express themselves as long as they're not hurting anybody. But people really say, "How could you run an ad like that?"
did anybody ask you why you ran that Kathy Hochul ad?
Maybe one or two other people. I mean, I shouldn't run the ad altogether. Or your problem is that it was so on page 5 in the paper. What is your issue?
Well, again, legally, are you allowed to not run that ad?
You have to ask attorneys whether you could refuse an ad and what the basis of an ad is. Certainly,
And then why?
certainly, I think in this day and age, of suppression and censorship, you probably can find a route to refuse an ad.
Is it difficult for you, being that you're such a Lee Zeldin guy, to run that full page ad so like up front in that newspaper?
No. You see, I don't know. Maybe it's how I differ from you or from a lot of other people. Maybe it's the fact of the matter that there's such a gap chronologically between us. I don't know if that's it, but I believe in civilized discourse. I believe if someone doesn't agree with you, they should be able to express themselves in a reasonable and intelligent way, and you have the opportunity to, in the same way, reasonably and intelligently and rationally and logically, disagree with them. That's fine. That's what we're missing today. You understand what I'm saying?
I hear
You have to be able to. That's what's missing today. That's what's missing so terribly today. That's why our society has crumbled in the way that it has, because it used to be that you are able to disagree with somebody with respect.
Right.
So I think Kathy Hochul is presiding over a New York State disaster. She's just the next stage of Andrew Cuomo, who was a disaster, but was still governor for 11 years before he was forced to resign.
My only response to that is this song that's going around.
Zo is waar zelden, niet af en op een hel. statistik melden.
En houdt aan ordentliche benen.
Wow. That's amazing, no?
Listen,
I only
you know,
played a few
let me tell
seconds
you,
of the song, but like,
I hate saying the words the Hasidim. It's not right to categorize.
Right.
There's a great deal of diversity within the Hasidic community in New York as well. Everybody
Right.
knows, by and large, that when it came to local elections, New York City, New York State, they've had a proclivity and a disposition to vote Democrat. And when it came to national elections, they voted for Trump and Republicans and so on down the line. But you know, I don't know if it's a miracle or how or why it happened, but there is a targeted attack against the Hasidic community by New York State government, and the governor is the head of New York State government. And I don't know if you read it or where I read it or saw it, but first of all, Kathy Hochul couldn't meet with the.
she didn't have time.
No, she didn't. I thought she didn't have time. She's a woman. She couldn't meet with the Zalman Leib, the Satmar Rebbe in Williamsburg.
They didn't allow it.
She sent her lieutenant governor, who was a very nice guy I met once last year at a dinner, Antonio Delgado, actually. But according to what I heard and what I read, the Rebbe told her that can you tell us that you're not going to continue this assault on our yeshivas, and he couldn't promise that. So he said, I'm not going to endorse her. And hopefully that song is a result of those internal, machinations.
Yeah.
And if the Hasidic community, which I believe has tens of thousands of voters potentially, if they make the difference in this election and Zeldin wins, I think it's super big. It's super big.
I guess we'll see what happens with that. So let's just discuss some stories. We unfortunately couldn't get an episode out yesterday. You were traveling.
Right.
Hopefully the rest of the week will be here.
Yes.
And
Mir
next week as
Hashem
well.
will be here. Yes.
So we missed a news story over the weekend. There was an attack on Nancy Pelosi's husband.
Yes.
LA Times reports attack suspect told police he intended to take Nancy Pelosi hostage, interrogate and torture her. In a voluntary interview with San Francisco police, after his arrest, David DePape said he set out to hold Nancy Pelosi hostage and torture her. The Department of Justice on Monday filed federal assault and kidnapping charges against David DePape. So, I heard that he had taken a hammer to the head of Nancy's husband, who is in his 80s and now is in the hospital receiving care.
So what's your question?
It's not a question. It's just a news story that happened. And
Listen,
I think that if you could love or hate her, nobody wants to see anybody get hurt like that.
Violence, there's no circumstances where violence is something that anybody can condone. And that's a continuous conversation of what I was talking about a moment ago about civil discourse. We have to be able to disagree vehemently and strongly and extremely, but without resorting to any kind of threats or violence. Not just violence, even a threat of violence. It's ridiculous, Yeah. And where are our leaders to draw the line instead of remaining silent? By the way, last night on Tucker Carlson on Fox News, I heard the police recording of Mr. Pelosi calling the police to say that this guy was in his house, and he said that he has a friend is here with him with a hammer. So he referred to him as a friend.
Interesting.
So there seems to be
there are different conspiracies.
It's Chilukei Deis.
But
There's a lot of different versions of what was going on there. Let's leave it at that.
Yeah, we wish him
Yisham Refuah Shlema. Absolutely.
So over the weekend as well, the Twitter story has progressed. Elon Musk is becoming the chief twit. He is taking over Twitter.
Right.
In a tweet from Matt Wallace, the former CEO of Twitter, Parag Agrawal, was rude to Elon Musk over text, thinking he would not actually be able to close the deal to buy Twitter.
Right.
Then Elon Musk dropped $40 billion on it,
right.
fired Parag and his buddies, and canceled their massive severance packages. Got to be careful. You don't know who your boss is going to be. You don't want to be making enemies like that.
Well, I'm sure there'll be a lawsuit over that, and there'll be some kind of a settlement ultimately. But it's a major game changer having someone like Musk in control of what they call, the modern day communications main street.
Town square, the town square of the internet.
That's the town square of the internet, where people exchange ideas. And You know, the Democrats, unfortunately, cannot cannot remain. I'm not going to say cannot remain in power. That's up to the voters. They cannot remain powerful so long as they don't have the ability to censor and suppress people. Joe Biden never would have been president if what's it called, high tech,
Big tech.
big tech, what they call it, big tech. If Joe Biden never would have been president if big tech would have not been able to suppress the New York Times story about Hunter Biden's laptop.
That's a
It was banned.
That's a theory. That's alleged.
It wasn't on Twitter. It wasn't allowed to be
Alleged.
on Facebook.
I mean, that's not a fact.
Well, Donald Trump won in 2016 because there was a story floating around 5 days before the election where, what's his name, James Comey, who was head of the FBI at the time, came out and said that what she did was wrong, but we're not indicting her. What she did was wrong? She lost the election based on those few words. The intent of those words was to exonerate her and get her elected, but it backfired on her.
Yeah.
So our population is very, very, very large, and people are very, very fickle. And like we said last time we did a recording, I think maybe it was last week before I left, we said that people draw conclusions based on the flimsiest amount of information. They don't have to know anything to be able to draw a definitive conclusion and believe that they're right. What if you ask them, why do you think you're right? What is it based on? I don't know, but I'm right.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because if you see a few days ago, Ted Cruz actually went on a TV show called The View, which has 4 or 5 women, including
Joy Behar, Whoopi Goldberg.
Yeah, and he actually held his own. And this is a clip I'll show from The View.
Okay.
And Whoopi Goldberg says, they were basically saying the Republicans, there's no, they riot, they protest, and he called out, how about the Antifa protests?
Right.
And she said, I don't even know what an Antifa protest is.
Right. Listen, that's what they do.
It's La La Land.
They lie. They just lie. They just lie. I was writing something this morning for this week's paper, and during the Trump impeachment hearings, one of the 2 Trump impeachment hearings, there was a discussion. Is not telling the truth and lying the same thing? Or is it 2 different things? He didn't tell you could say about somebody, he didn't tell the truth. Or you could say he lied. Is there a difference between the 2? And they were arguing that there is a difference.
What's the difference?
Well, not telling the truth is, conceivably, you could just not say anything.
Okay.
Okay. Lying is mean that you misrepresented something. The people we're talking about, in this case, Democratic leadership, leading up to 2016 and 2020, and even now leading up to the next week's midterm elections, they out and out lie. Joe Biden said last week that gasoline now is thankfully down to $3.36 a gallon instead of the $5 that it was when he came into office. When he came into office, it was $2.25 a gallon. But you know what? You can't even blame him because he just reads whatever they write for him, and they're laughing probably in the back office about how they can put anything up there on the what's it called again?
Teleprompter.
They can put anything they want on the teleprompter, and this guy is going to read it.
Do you ever worry about being too pro-Republican publicly?
First of all, I'm not always pro-Republican. I'm pro what's primarily good for the state of Israel, and pro what's good for the American Jewish community, and pro what's good for the United States of America. And I think you'll be hard-pressed to find people today that could reasonably argue that this administration has an effective and reasonable foreign policy. And they should have been able to bring Russia and Ukraine to the peace table months ago to settle their differences. But they don't want to do it.
It's true.
Because you know why they don't want to do it? Because someone's making a heck of a lot of money from all those billions of dollars that are going to Ukraine, and billions of dollars, the military, the weapons industry, the tank industry, the rockets, the missiles, the anti-tank missiles. Someone's selling those things for a lot of money and making a lot of money.
Yeah.
And those companies that are making that money are making a lot of political donations. They go to sleep at night, they're praying the war doesn't stop.
So now on to the topic that has been dominating a lot of the film world over the last 36 hours. And
what's that?
again, we spent a lot of time last week on anti-Semitism, but what are we gonna do? I mean, Kyrie Irving, the star for the Brooklyn Nets,
Right.
posted on his social media last week a picture of a book,
Right.
from
From Negroes to Hebrews.
Negroes to Hebrews,
I think it's supposed to rhyme. It doesn't really rhyme.
which is filled with anti-Semitic
It
tropes.
doesn't really rhyme. You know, first of all, you didn't read the book. I didn't read the book.
You read the book?
No, I read what the book was about.
Yeah, what was the book about?
So I have an advantage over you. You're cutting that out, probably.
What am I cutting out?
That I said I have an advantage over you.
No, don't worry. You have an advantage over me.
No, you see what? I don't know. I'm not defending Kyrie Irving.
We didn't even get to it. How are you going to defend him already? Are you also going to call him crazy and say that he doesn't know better?
No, I'm not going to say that he's crazy.
Do you know that when approached about it by the front office of the Brooklyn Nets,
Yeah, what did he say?
and told to apologize for it,
Yeah.
he said, "You can't tell me how to think, and you can't tell me how to apologize." And I'll show a clip right now,
Okay.
of Kyrie Irving being confronted by Nick Friedel of ESPN about this.
And to follow up on the promotion of the movie and the book,
Can you please stop calling it a promotion? What am I promoting?
put it out on your platform.
But I'm promoting it? Do you see me doing, do you see me
By
in front of
putting it out there,
the
people
title?
are going to say that you are
Yeah, I put it out there
promoting-
just like you put things out there, right?
Yeah, but
Okay.
it's not
you put
stuff,
things out there for a living, right?
right? But my stuff
Great.
is
So
not
let's move on.
filled
Let's
with
move on.
anti-Semitic
Let's
stuff.
move on. Don't dehumanize me up here.
I'm not doing
I'm
that.
another
You're
human
free to
being.
post
I can post whatever I want. So
can post
say that and shut it down and move on to the next question.
But Kyrie, you have to understand that by
I don't have to understand anything from you.
But it's
Nothing.
not me.
Nothing.
By
It's no
posting
people that
what
you're
you
making
did,
up, bro. Move on.
But by posting
Move
what
on.
you
Next
did,
question.
Anybody
Next question. Do
is
you guys
gonna
have any
look
more
at
questions
it,
for
and
me?
they're going to say,
You guys have any more
does he have
questions? Because this is going to be a
anti-Semitic
clip.
beliefs?
This is going to be a clip that he's going to marvel at. Is this any more questions?
But you're not answering the question.
Oh, this is another answering your question. Oh my God, let's make another Instagram clip so we could be famous again. Next question.
That is arrogance.
He's avoiding the issue. Obviously, he's very uncomfortable with it.
This is a guy who plays in Brooklyn in one of the most Jewish neighborhoods in the world. You go into Barclays Center any given game,
I know.
and there's a ton of yarmulkes. Even last night, we'll put a picture up over here.
I know.
Our young Grace with his
Yes,
family,
yes.
they're with shirts.
Right. Stop anti-Semitism. It said. It's not a good thing that he's involved in. Obviously, the Barclays Center is very popular. It's very close to both Flatbush and Crown Heights, and there's 3 kosher restaurants in the Barclays Center.
Always about food. Always about
well,
food.
listen, Jewish life is dominated largely about food. But when I was at Barclays Center about a year or two ago, about 3 years ago,
Yeah.
I saw people sitting in the restaurants. They didn't even bother going into the game.
I guess
They just
it's-
come to the Barclays Center, buy tickets to the game, and they sit and you schmooze in the restaurant. Now, of course, his support, if he's supporting that claim, has to be condemned, of course.
And it was condemned by the ownership of the Brooklyn Nets. It was condemned by many in the media. But again, you have a lot of people online who are saying Kyrie is right. And you know what? I want to play a clip over here. Rich Eisen, who is a Jewish
Who is he?
member of the media. Rich Eisen.
Okay,
I think
what
you'll
does he
recognize
say?
him.
What does
And
he
this is
say?
I'll play it was a 7-minute video he had part of his Rich Eisen show.
Okay.
And I'll play a little bit of a clip of what he said.
You're dehumanizing me, Kyrie. I'm a Jewish man. Okay? Descendant of people who died in gas chambers and got incinerated by Nazis. You're dehumanizing me by putting on your platform a book and a movie that is filled with anti-Semitic tropes that are designed or eventually lead to the dehumanization of me and my children and my ancestors who died because they were Jewish. It's not funny. It's not hilarious. And I can't believe I got to tell someone from Duke who clearly is smart enough to know, yeah, I mean, you're not promoting it with like a tour. It's not like a book tour or a movie tour. But when you put it in front of 4 million people who might not have already heard about it or know about it, you're promoting it.
I think it's so well said by Rich Eisen. And
Yeah.
And I think his response, his back and forth was just like, it was embarrassing. And you know what? As a Jewish community, take a stand. Stop going to Nets games. Boycott the Brooklyn Nets. Enough is enough. Enough is enough. Why are we supporting people like this? Why are you paying money for tickets to go sit there and watch this raging anti-Semite, Kyrie Irving, who will not apologize. And not only that, Marcus Stroman, another athlete who used to play in New York, he went onto social media to back up Kyrie Irving about it. Enough is enough. The Barclays Center is full night after night with from Jews.
Right.
There's a lot of kosher stands there.
Right.
Cut it loose. Cut ties. Our young guys sitting courtside over there with the fight anti-Semitism shirts. I want those seats should be empty from now on. Call up the Brooklyn Nets front office. Enough is enough. That's your star. That's your star. Unless you suspend him, unless you sit him down, or unless he apologizes, enough is enough. We're not going to your games anymore. That's it.
Absolutely. I think that's the right response. We have to take a stand. I think the world, with all the prejudice, racism, anti-Semitism in the world, I think that probably of all these hateful things, the anti-Semitism is probably the oldest one in the book.
I know, but the problem is, especially now with what happened last week with Kanye, the Jewish people get accused of anti-Semitism.
And this is the problem. Unfortunately, the world thinks that there's a little legitimate crease, a little legitimate place where anti-Semitism can exist. That's the problem.
That's why.
Because you know what? In New York, in the last couple of years, every time there was attacks on Asians in New York. There was people that were assaulted, pushed off the platforms. Some cases murdered, and they were all Asian, either from China or one of the Asian countries, and it got front and center in the news. But still, there were far more anti-Jewish attacks, and it didn't get that kind of attention because that communicates that inactivity, that lack of mention, also communicates a message. You know what they say? Not speaking up is speaking up.
Yeah.
By not featuring those guys who had Streimels ripped off their heads in Flatbush on Friday night, or had a fire extinguisher fired at them in Williamsburg, walking home from shul on Friday night. And this happens in far more cases than any kind of hateful attacks against other minorities. You're saying that, yeah, it's terrible what's happening to the Jews, but and that's where it's more wrong than anything else.
Elie Wiesel says the silence always helps the oppressor, and it never helps the victim. So don't be silent. Don't be silent.
Speak up. Call the Nets. Send them an email.
Yeah,
let them hear.
Especially if you're a season ticket holder. And there's a lot of from Jews. There's a lot of from Jews. There are a lot of Jews who have season tickets to the Brooklyn Nets who are from New York. Enough. Done.
Let me say one word about the science of protesting. Okay, how it works. I'll take 60 seconds. I used to go to NORPAC, to Washington D.C. To show support for Israel, to meet with senators and congressmen to show support for Israel. And maybe I'll start going again now that we're in the post-pandemic life. But they used to tell us that 1,500 people came from all around the country. You hear? 1,500 people, and the guy that ran this thing always said that when you make a phone call to a congressman's office, you leave a message. That to them is like 10 people. Like 10 people, because you're doing something. When you take time to write a letter, they consider it as if 1,000 people you're representing. Statistically, when you take off from work, when you get on a bus or on a train or on a plane, and you go to Washington to meet with them, each person is considered as if it were representing 10,000 people. You hear? So that's the nature of protest. That means when those 1,500 people came to Washington from all over the country, that they represented millions of people.
Yeah.
So you bet that the congressmen and the senators were going to show up to hear what we had to say.
Yeah. So I that being said, I really it makes me upset.
We have to stay on it. We have to stay on it.
Yeah, the story makes me upset.
You're reaching a lot of people. It's very easy to send an email these days to protest Kyrie Irving.
Do we have the email address or phone number that people can?
I don't know. Let's look it up today,
and we'll put it on. We'll put it on here, or we'll put it in the description. There was an NFL TV ad that was paid for by Robert Kraft.
Mm-hmm.
Which was about standing up against Jewish hate. And I'll show you the ad right now. So that was paid for by Robert Kraft. And for those who are listening and not watching, it was, it's worth it to go ahead and watch it on YouTube to see.
That was broadcast on the games.
That was broadcasted on Sunday on some games. And shout out to Robert Kraft.
Robert Kraft he's a chassan. He got married recently. He's in
Mazda.
Shona. He's 81 years old. Robert Kraft. His wife passed away a few years ago.
He's done a lot for the Jewish community.
He was a guest of honor at the Yeshiva University dinner a few years ago. There's a big football stadium in Jerusalem where all the Yeshiva guys play.
Yeah, Kraft.
Play flag football, whatever they play, flag football or touch football, or in Robert Kraft Stadium. So he's very closely identified with the Jewish community, and this is great that he's taking that kind of a stand, and you have to get the word out there. We're doing our little part here. He's doing his part in a much larger way. And thank God for that. We need people to stand up and speak out.
Yeah, listen, it really, honestly, I'm not somebody that spends a ton of time focusing on the politics or activism. It's just not what I'm busy with, or it's just not my personality. But especially this Kyrie Irving thing, it bothered me tremendously because he was given an opportunity to apologize. He was given an opportunity to say, I didn't know better. And he didn't do that. In fact, he doubled down. And I think it's like, you know what? People like that exist. No problem. It's fine. But as a community, as Jewish people, we need to not support them. And we need to not pay his contract. Because every single Brooklyn Nets game you go to and you're paying the Brooklyn Nets, you're paying his contract. You're paying his millions of dollars. And this guy is using his influence to spread hate against Jews.
Okay, let's see what happens. Let's see where it goes from here.
On a lighter topic.
Yes.
There's a video of a bear. A bear entering a shul in Pomona.
Okay, how did he get into?
I think maybe he was the 10th of the minyan. I don't know.
No, there was no one else. Must be during the night.
It was during the night, and this black bear enters the shul.
Maybe it was just before Elenu and everybody left already. I swear he walked out with something.
Did he? Maybe he got the pushka.
Well, I walked out with a bag.
Maybe it was somebody dressed up as a bear.
I think it was leftovers from Shal Shudas.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It says here that...
He was a lucky bear, if that's the case.
It says here on Yeshiva World that fortunately the bear was unaware of the kitchen that is right next to the base medrash and didn't make it in. So, this was in the Or Shlomo Hasidic Center, a.k.a. the Karbach Shul, in Pomona on Sunday night. Walked around, didn't find anybody. There's a lot of bears nowadays out there, so be careful.
They're hungry.
Yeah.
They're looking for food. Apparently, there's some kind of a shortage in the bear community for food. So
are you serious? Maybe they just all woke up from hibernation.
I don't know. Sometimes hibernation. Winter didn't even start yet.
I don't know when bears hibernate. You do?
I don't know when bears hibernate. But apparently he was hungry. There's a lot more bears than usual out there, and I don't know. Maybe he's in a bad neighborhood where there's not a lot of good stuff growing on the trees.
Maybe.
So
that's our episode for today. Obviously, the Israeli elections are today, and we'll know results more.
We'll know some of the results.
We'll know some of the results tomorrow.
Tomorrow, I think.
So we'll talk about that, and of course, I go through all the emails that everyone sends. We got an email here from somebody that says, "Hey, I've been refreshing Apple Podcasts all day today and yesterday, waiting for a new episode of the Daily Thread. My commute to work is not the same.
I feel so bad.
Can't wait to hear you guys." From Anonymous.
I feel so bad. You know what we should do? I know we're not ready for it yet. We should do this live one day. Can we stream it live?
One day, God willing.
We could do it one day on a Sunday.
Take phone calls. We can take phone calls on this.
On a Sunday, if you know how to do it. I don't know if you could stream this live for an hour, and take phone calls from people.
For premium members, perhaps. But
okay.
Until then, you can go ahead and email thedailythread@meaningfulminute.org. What topics, what stories you want to see us mentioning, or if you just have some feedback. Please go ahead and rate this podcast on Apple, on Spotify. Leave a review. Subscribe on YouTube. And we'll be coming at you with an episode tomorrow, the next day, and the next day, God willing. So stay tuned and have a great day.
Okay, be well.
Hop's Zeichel, Kimt's Aros, Stimmen